afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to Andrey Khusid, who is the founder and CEO of Miro. Firstly, Andrey, congratulations on your Series C raise earlier this year. Your timing is impeccable in terms of the market, so congratulations for that. So you now have a very well capitalized business. You have hundreds of employees. You have millions, literally millions of users of your products. You have hubs in San Francisco and Amsterdam. Now that hasn't been achieved without a lot of blood and sweat. And I think what it'd be useful is to probably just share with the audience, what Miro does and maybe a little bit about that journey when it started through to where you are now.
Yeah, happy to be here and share a bit with you all. We started a journey in 2011 with a very simple idea to bring a whiteboard into a browser. At that time, I was leading creative agency, and we had customers that we worked remotely with, and it was really hard to collaborate on ideas and projects together. So with that simple idea, we kicked off the company. And yeah, through time, it evolved into a leading visual collaboration platform that is now have more than 45 million registered users. We serve all different segments like SMB, enterprises, Fortune 100, and we have offices across 12 hubs in Asia, in Europe, in the US. So it was quite a journey in the last 11 years to build the company. And yeah, I'm like what I'm really proud is that how we scaled the company and how we remained the culture of the company that was originally there, because now it's almost 1,800 people in the company, and it still feels like a startup in a lot of parts of the organization. And where it's not a startup, we are trying to bring a startup energy through some M&As and through some teams that we are excited to partner with. So yeah, that's a bit about the journey. And Miro is, yeah, I think majority of you heard of us as a visual collaboration platform. It allows people to work like in a distributed fashion or in a sync fashion and kind of build next big things together. Our mission is empower teams to create the next big thing, and I'm really proud to see every day the next big things that are happening on our platform. And I hope some of you also created your next big thing with Miro. So that's what we do.
Yeah, thank you. And I touched on raising a Series C in the introduction. I guess your investors want you to use that cash. So can you share with the audience maybe what your plans are as we kind of go forward maybe for the next 12, 24 months?
Yeah. My philosophy of building a company is to build it sustainable from day one. And we actually were kind of break-even or profitable, depends on the time of the journey, for the whole journey. So when we raised round A or round B or round C, we were not raising to kind of fill the gap in our cash flow. It was actually to accelerate our business, to accelerate growth, to take more risks, to make bigger bets. And the recent round that we were raising was focused on strategic expansion, and strategic expansion happening through brand investments, and we just completed first iteration of our big brand campaign in the US. It's focused on M&As and bringing, as I mentioned, like teams to Miro. And we did already 2 acquisitions this year, and just one was announced last week around video conferencing tool, which is focused on collaboration for engineers, product designers, is now becoming of Miro family, which I'm super excited about. And yeah, the goal is to make sure that we, on one hand, like iterate and build on the basis that we historically have, but on the other hand, make some big bets outside to foster the growth and to have experimentation outside of our core expertise. So that's the idea.
Just in terms of the acquisition, I know you've built very fast in terms of organic growth. Is this your first major acquisition, and the kind of how are you thinking about integration of this acquisition?
As I mentioned, we did a couple acquisitions. One was early this year when the team started to build on our platform and already shipping some great use cases on top of our platform. And this second acquisition is a standalone product. And the standalone product going to fuel growth. One of our principles is to invest in something that have like organic user love, that is built in a PLG fashion, That's where like I'm passionate about, is like end users are deciding how the software should look, how it should work, and they kind of pick the software based on their preferences. So we invest in those type of companies who have this best-in-class PLG roots, who have best-in-class user experience, and we will merge that with our core experience so people can benefit from integrations of the products. Now it's completely broken, you know, it's like you have a Zoom call separately, you have Miro boards separately, you have your notes separately, whatever, and you need to manipulate multiple screens. It doesn't foster collaboration, it doesn't streamline user experience. So we want to innovate in that area a bit and see how we can streamline engineering, product design, collaboration.
Yeah. So acquisition remains firmly on the agenda going forward, and if there's any interested parties out there, please contact Andrey, I guess. In terms of starting a business, you challenged many of the norms in terms of charging for products early, going into new markets, really pushing for product-led growth. What made you do that? Where did that come from versus what we've seen historically?
Yeah. We started the company in the middle of nowhere, and for us it was pretty kind of challenging to go and sell top-down, figure out how to acquire customers. So for us the only path was like acquire customers through PLG, bottoms-up adoption, and we started kind of to work on all markets at the same time. So we had really strong traction adoption in Australia, in New Zealand, in Japan, without any people on the ground, and of course in the US and in Europe. So and now we're like truly global company with like 40% of revenue coming from Europe, 40% from the US, and 20% from Asia and the rest of the world. So which is kind of pretty balanced distribution of revenue, and we can actually kind of see different patterns of consumption, different patterns of buying software in different regions, and we can adjust our strategies based on that without like putting people in the ground in the first place and making big expensive investments. So, and in general, like yesterday was a great talk here about churn, 15 minutes, so Patrick was talking about churn. Some of you may heard that. And I was thinking, what's my talk? And my talk would be PLG, like 15 minutes, but I would not make you bored of PLG talk now, but that's kind of, the thing is, if you have a strong bottoms-up end-user adoption, if your kind of market allows that, I think that's the best you can get, and then you layer all other pieces on top, like marketing, sales, and strategic success. But the core user love, the community, the flywheel that can be created bottoms-up, it's a kind of foundational for really rapid growth.
Yeah, thank you. Just to put you on notice, we are going to allow 5 minutes for some questions, so please get your thinking caps on and we'll ensure that you get the opportunity to speak to Andrey. Going back to the scale of the business, you know, I work in an organization that's scaled very, very quickly, and we always talk about how do we retain that culture from when we first started, and you know, have hundreds. I think you said is it 800 or
1,800 people.
1,800 people. Beg your pardon. 1,800 people. How do you go about looking to retain that culture? And also, I was very interested to hear that you and I think a certain number of the original founders, 10 or so, are still in the organisation. I mean, that's relatively unique. So it'd be interesting to see how that happened and how you've managed to retain the culture.
Yeah, I think it's a big challenging question. It's like it's never done, and you want to make it better, and this is one of my key focuses. But in general, what we did is when we were around 30 people, we decided to codify our culture, to codify our values. And a lot of companies, they start kind of the few founders, and the company values are founder values in a lot of ways. And just like they put it on the paper or put it on the website, and that's how the company scale. What we did, we looked at like this initial 30 people in the company and tried to understand what unites us, what is kind of our shared values that we have, and we codified them. It was 2017, I believe, when we first time did this exercise. And then, in a few years later, we did again like this exercise when we were a bigger company, and we came from this 6 values to 4 values eventually that continue to unite people that are in the company. So we ended up with 4 values, and you can see kind of broader definition on the website, but we have one word for each of these values. One is collaboration, second is iteration, third is impact, and fourth is empathy. And those pieces work together. Like, we try to build a culture where it's not like each of the values individually, but it's like a puzzle of things, and they have to work together in a team. And what is special, I think, about our culture is collaboration. Like, people are really willing to collaborate and partner with each other and to build on top of each other and to win together. So that's kind of one of the key things, and why we also remain a lot of people from the initial founding team in the company is that, like, we try to build this global company from day one. We are kind of officially headquartered in San Francisco and Amsterdam, but in reality our leadership team spreads across 12 offices. So, for example, CFO is in New York, CMO in Austin, Chief Customer Officer, Chief Revenue Officer in San Francisco, CPO, Chief Technology Officer in Amsterdam, and so on. Like, we are really spread across different regions. And what is important is, like, we try to bring all the different perspectives and all different cultures together, so people from kind of different backgrounds and different working styles can come and work together and be effective and efficient. So that's pretty unique, and I try to also mix, like, those who grew up with the company with those who have this very important knowledge that we can bring now into the business together and make them working together. So it's a combination of different factors, and it's hard. Like, it's really hard to build this distributed leadership team, to bring people along from different cultures and backgrounds and experiences. But it pays off if you do it, like, for a long time and you invest continuously into that.
I think you can be cynical about values. Certainly, kind of, if I go back, because I'm of a certain generation going back many years, you know, values were talked about. They probably weren't lived in bigger organisations, and maybe those organisations were very country-based, as in you're working for a UK company in the UK. I think now, as businesses have become more globalised, retaining that culture becomes increasingly important. So, and you have to live those values, otherwise the culture doesn't happen. So I really like what you're saying there. I've got a couple of more questions, but I did promise to open up to the audience. So please stick your hand up if you're. I can see a gentleman over there. Ask Andrey. Andrey, I checked with him beforehand, said he's pretty much open to talking about anything. So please fire away.
Any questions?
Yeah, there was a gentleman here in the middle.
Right over here in the middle, sure.
Yeah.
I'll hold the microphone for you, just for our safety. Please introduce yourself and the company you work for and your question.
So I'm Felix, founder of Userlane, and I just have one question for you. If you would start Miro again, what would you do differently?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would focus a bit more on experienced talent. So we figured out a lot on our own, and I think it helped to build some culture of iteration and continuous learning. At the same time, there were a bunch of shortcuts that we may have back in the day, and I would bring definitely a mix of the talent, very hungry talent that want to learn, with some experienced talent with a growth mindset, who have this beginner's mindset to do things, but to compensate for some lack of knowledge. That's my thinking.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Is there a gentleman there and a gentleman down here?
Since you're such a product-led growth advocate, I wanted to ask about, is there any universal set of rules when it comes to this tiering? Would you say that it's very product-specific, or you discovered some, like, something that applies to every product that you give for free, and then you want to tier it to a paid, behind a paywall, if there is something that is universal regardless of the product you're offering between this?
Yeah, I think in general, like, PLG is not just about product, it's about the whole motion. I think Kyle yesterday had a great overview on kind of key pillars for PLG. Well, is like open view, and I think they might share this presentation. I think it was really great, where you kind of align the value with the usage, where you build some community that can foster your growth, where you can definitely have freemium offering or kind of some other experiences in the product. We, for example, experiment with the pre-products. It's a new motion, and it's pretty interesting what we accomplish with that. There are so many different aspects of PLG, and I think it's important to understand what works best for you through experimentation. I think there are very different products in different markets and with different specifics. And when I think about Miro, for example, can we apply the same learnings for Airtable or Loom of the world? Some yes, some no. And the same, like when I look at those products, can I apply everything they do to our product? No. So even in the same kind of category or in the same group of products, you will have quite a differences. So what we did, we built a growth team, and the growth team is pretty big now organization, which is optimizing for the velocity of the experimentation, velocity of learnings, and that's the only way how you can kind of accelerate your flywheel. That's what we do here.
Thank you. We just have over 2 minutes left. I think there's a gentleman down here who wanted to ask a question. Is it one we think we can get done in 2 minutes? Yep, we're off. Okay.
Hi. Can you elaborate a bit on how Miro added in its sales organization and processes on top of that PLG motion?
Yeah. So kind of initially, we just start to focus our sales reps on the biggest opportunities out there within the user base. So we didn't put them on every step of the funnel or on every segment. We just said like minimum 15K deal. That's what you need to do. It's like minimum 50 licenses, minimum of 1,000 employees in the company. So there is a big expansion rate. So that worked for a long time. And now we're kind of taking that to the next level, where we kind of trying to figure out what are product signals, core product signals, that can help sales to identify what can be scaled in the organization. So to move from like just moving users from self-service or free tiers to paid tiers to actually selling value, but through PLG signals. So that's what we are doing. And like there are a lot of other things. Like we definitely created a bunch of engines behind this sales motion. One of that, like I called it back in the day, lead engine. And the idea was lead engine as a product. So we try to experiment as much as possible around like our product qualified accounts and how we can bring them to sales reps and like run a ton of experiments around that. So everything we do, we try to do as a product and in an experimentation fashion. So that's kind of the philosophy we have here.
Thank you. We've actually run out of time, or literally just coming down on time. So it's a sign of a good conversation, I think, when 20 minutes go so fast. So, Andrey, I just want to thank you for being so insightful and open, and also the audience for listening in, and thank you very much. And a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.